Hey there, friends. Welcome. It's another one of our Slant Alpha adventures getting underway. True Slant Alpha this evening as we are in our only aircraft that we still fly with just the old school radio-based style of navigation, the Piper Comanche from A2A Simulations. And of course, a lot of times when we fly the A2A Simulations Comanche, we're not following radio-based navigation. We're following eyeball-based navigation. But yeah, it is the one that we do have equipped only with the analog style of navigation instruments. And so it is the only one that we truly fly Slant Alpha anymore. But anyway, here we are. We're resuming our river run down the Yukon River. River run's a series within the stream that I've done now. This is the 5th season of. We pick a river within the U.S. and we follow it from where it starts to where it ends. And we break that up into a series of episodes, and we cover 100 to 150 miles along the river each episode, basically. And we stop at every airstrip we find along the way, whether it's public or private, whether it's paved or gravel or grass or dirt or what have you. This season is the Yukon River, as I mentioned. We did the Columbia River, we did the Susquehanna River, we did the mighty Mississippi, and we did the Rio Grande. And we are now doing the Yukon River, which we started. I'll kind of take you, this is episode 4 of our Yukon River run. We started back in, let's see, just south of Whitehorse. And I always forget there's Car Max and there's Car Cross. And I think we started at Car Cross. Yeah, Car Cross. Now we were supposed to come up these lakes here. We wound up shortcutting up this way because of weather. But we went through Whitehorse and then we continued northbound. We wound over this way. Then this was Carmax. Okay, there we go. And then our first episode ended at Minto Landing. Our second episode started at Minto Landing, but we couldn't find the airstrip anymore. It was there when we landed, and it wasn't there when we resumed our trip on our second leg. But we resumed from near Minto Landing, a road alongside Minto Landing, I guess. We then stopped at Fort Selkirk. We continued. This merges in with, I think this was called the White River. Or, which was, maybe this one was the White. No, I forget. This one started with S. I can't remember the name of it. It's not marked on these, watered down sky vector sectionals. But anyway, continued northbound and wound up here. We stopped at Dawson City. Of course, I would say a famous Yukon Gold Rush town, but most of these were involved in the Yukon Gold Rush. And then departed Dawson City, came back out to the Yukon, and landed at Eagle, Alaska, across from Canada into the U.S. And of course, now you can see we're into the area where we've got FAA sectionals covering through via Sky Vector, and landed at Eagle. So that was our second episode, ended at Eagle, and our third episode started there. We resumed north and westbound. We stopped at Coal Creek, and then we continued to Circle City, named because it was thought to be in the Arctic Circle, but it wasn't. But then we continued north and west and landed at the end of our third episode here at Fort Yukon, just barely inside the Arctic Circle. And that's where we're resuming today. We're going to continue. We've got a tripod of sorts. We've got 3 legs of almost identical length. And, wow, did somebody get the license plate on that guy? All right. 3 legs of almost identical length as we depart Fort Yukon. We're going to head down here to Beaver, Alaska. We're going to continue down further to Stevens Village. And then after Stevens Village, get to this part where the river kind of narrows out and it returns to a single stream of water, and then we're going to end up down here at Rampart. You'll see where we're navigating the river now, it's all these little kind of intertwined tributaries, really, so and lots of little offshoots to that. So we're going to have to be very careful that we are indeed following what we think we're following for legs number 1 and 2 here, and then once we get south and west of Stevens Village, it looks like it kind of settles in to where it's back to a traditional single stream flow, if that's what you want to call it. You can see we've also got some potential weather concerns coming up down as we get to Rampart. We'll see how that looks when we get there. Right now it's looking pretty good, pretty favorable up here at Fort Yukon. And as a matter of fact, it's 24 degrees Celsius, which is in the mid-70s Fahrenheit. So nice temperate day. Of course, it is early July, and it does get warmer in Alaska in July than it does in January. kind of why I chose this time of year to do this river run up here, way up north where the air gets cold. But yeah, it's pretty temperate there today. 020 at 7 is the wind as well, so nice easy wind conditions, at least to start our journey today on episode 4 of our river run. Yeah, we got some streakers happening on the ramp. We've got a couple of you streakers. Good gracious. Well, put your clothes on and let's get going. We've got some friends stopping into the chat already. We got Kenny Monster, CB Flyer, Upshot 2020 all here and piling in. And let's go ahead and get to it, friends. All right. Well, let's see. It's the A2A Simulations Hyper Comanche, as we mentioned. We can start by coming up to the aircraft. We'll unlatch and open the door. We'll pop inside just to get our fuel valves open, because we'll do a fuel sump check to make sure that the fuel is not contaminated and it's the correct color and consistency for the type of fuel that we've ordered. I'll get the yoke out of the way, make sure none of the circuit breakers are popped. But we are going to test the lights as well as when we walk around. So we'll get the battery on, we'll get all the lights on as well. Alright, outside we go. And let's take a walk, shall we? We'll start with this left flap. We'll make sure that it does not move. It's just nice and secure. We'll then move to the... I'm sorry, did I say left? It's the right-hand flap. I'm not sure if I said left or right. It's the right-hand flap, and then the right-hand aileron. This should move freely. And we want to make sure that it doesn't rub or catch as we move it around. You don't hear any squeaking or rubbing there. Okay, good. We're not going to have any fuel in the tip tanks, so there's no sump check that we have to do there. We could go underneath here and do a sump check of the tip tanks. But I'll show you that sump check of the main fuel tanks when we get there. But for now, we can put that back. Put that away. Is it not going to let us put it away? Okay, there we go. We do want to make sure that the nav light, the green nav light, is lit. We're going to make sure that the right hand... Uh-oh, is that not lit? Right hand landing light, is that... Did the switch not register? Or is that burnt out? Switches are on. I don't see circuit breakers popped. So I guess we might have a landing light out. One of the furry co-pilots is saying hello, by the way. I believe that's Moss. Okay, yeah, I would say we have a landing light out, guys. We'll see if we can address that when we get back inside. We'll do a little maintenance request. We'll go ahead and pull the tie down and the wheel chocks, and then we'll come down here and we'll stoop down, and it's somewhere along in here is the sump check for the main tanks, and you want to make sure that what you get is fuel immediately and not water that's settled into the bottom of the tank, because we do see a blue color there, and we don't see any kind of contamination floating around in there either, so we'll go ahead and say that that's done. We'll put that away. It's a correct color and consistency for the type of fuel also. Oh, by the way, since we're talking about fuel, I guess we should also kind of pop open the right-hand wing tank, and you would want to poke your head down there, make sure that it's about 2/3 full. Oh, I don't know that we actually did the fuel load, but let's assume that I've already ordered 20 gallons to have been put in there, so we'll poke our head down there, make sure that it is indeed about 2/3 full. That's the right color and consistency for the type of fuel that it's supposed to be, and that's done. And we'll do the same thing on the left-hand side when we get to it, but I'm actually going to have to get into the tablet and manipulate that fuel load when we get into the aircraft. But we'll resume our pre-flight walk around first. Okay, no obstructions, nothing, no objects left in the fuel intake. Propeller looks to be in good condition. Let's do a check of the oil. It should be reading just right around the 9 mark. It should have 10 quarts in it. It's reading right around the 9 mark, and it's nice light tan color, so we've got enough oil, and we've got you know, good quality oil. It's not too dark, indicating that it needs to be changed. And then we go to wheel chock and tie down. And let's go ahead and yank the pitot cover as well. So we don't have either landing light. That's unusual. I wonder if there is a circuit breaker pop that I just didn't see. And that doesn't look like that light's on. What about the rest of our lights? Is our battery dead? Battery might be dead because that light's not working either. And the strobe light's not working. So all of the lights are dead. So I think we probably have killed the battery. We'll have to do a little maintenance check there. And we'll do another circle around to check on that. Okay. Well, we got to do the fuel load. Oh, and I forgot to check the static port on the other side. Just want to make sure the static ports are not obstructed. That's going to cause you issues with your altimeter and your airspeed indicator, if it is. Ruby the Juice is here. Hey, Ruby, what's going on? Okay, no obstruction on that static port, and then we'll go ahead and get our cargo loaded up as well. We'll just take a toolkit, suitcase, and duffel bag, and we'll close that up. All right, let's hop into the aircraft and pull the tablet. It doesn't look like there's any circuit breakers popped, so that would not. Oh, wait a minute now.
Great Scott!
Okay, well, there we go. Did I just not have the battery on? Let's well, that's your problem, right? Okay, so that green light's lit. Landing light's lit. Can't believe that was the landing light's lit. Nav light's on. Okay, now we got a beacon light. And then let's crouch down and check our strobe light. Yep, that's on as well. Okay, well, that was the issue. Well, hey, we detected the problem before we took off. That would have been a huge problem trying to take off with the battery switch turned off. Anyway, so the strobe light and the landing lights can come off. And the master, yeah, the beacon will leave on as we are going to get ready to start up the aircraft now. So prop and mix can go full forward. Let's go ahead and run the fuel pump. We already have the fuel valves open because we did that sump check. So we do see, okay, fuel pressure is starting to come up, so we're going to prime this thing about maybe 4 times. I don't think we have to go 5 since it's nice and warm up here today. Let's leave the fuel pump running for now. Mix can stay in. Throttle can come back out to about 10%. Let's do the mags to right, then left, and then both. Let's open up the window. And let's close and latch the door, but we'll open up that window also. Okay, clear, 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 clear. Start engaging the starter. We'll pull the throttle in just ever so slightly. There we go. Okay, disengage the starter, throttle to 1,000. Make sure oil pressure came up right away. It did. We will lean the mix out right to the point where the RPM drops, which is there. And we can go ahead and turn the fuel pump off, and then we should see the electric fuel pump's a backup to the engine's own fuel pump. The engine's own fuel pump should now be supplying fuel pressure, and indeed it seems to be. Alright, we can go ahead and close up the windows. And avionics can come on. We'll get COM 1 Nav 1, COM 2 Nav 2. Transponder goes right into altitude mode, because why not? One less thing to forget later. And we're going to get our ADF radio on. I don't really use the engine monitor, so we'll just hit reset until it stops flashing, but it will flash at us later, and I don't care. The directional gyro will want to match up with the compass because it starts in a kind of a random position. Maybe I kicked the switch getting out of the seat, CB? Yeah, I don't know. So 120, 130, 133 thereabouts. Yeah, that spun up in a kind of completely random direction, so we'll get it set back to 133. Ruby says, I had the pleasure of seeing a Lear 25 earlier today. Not many of those still flying. That's true. That's awesome. Okay, so there's about 133, and then let's do a... So METAR is showing altimeter 2987, and when we set that, we should see about 447 on the altimeter. So 2987, and then cross-check 447. We'll run this down a little bit. 2990, and then down 1, 2, 3 clicks from there. And yeah, right around 450. That's good. Everything is good. All right, and we are, so we know it's 0207. And if we right-click, open a new tab, what runways do we have here? We got a 4 and 22. So we're going to take off in the runway 4 direction. And then we'll do a left downwind. And so 242 is going to be our on course. It doesn't say anything about a right-hand pattern to runway 4 or runway 22, does it? No, it doesn't. Okay, good. Could have checked that on that facilities page as well, but I just didn't think about it before we closed it. But runway 4 and 22, I'm going to set the arrow to reflect that, just so that it agrees with the runway direction, just so that we'll kind of have that cross-check visually when we get out there. And then what did I say? 242 is our on course, so almost a left downwind. Almost a straight-up downwind there. I know. We got all kinds of little gremlins there, don't we, Drama? Oh, and I did say we were going to put some fuel in, make sure we had 20 gallons, and I didn't do that. So we'll cheat. We'll do the fuel while things running. Don't really want to do it while it's running. But we don't want to take off with only 12 gallons either. So we'll make sure we're starting with 20 and 20. Yeah. What happened there? Well, let's start it up again. Mix rich, throttle out. Fuel pump on. Avionics off. So something to do with fueling it while it was running, maybe. I mean, I knew that was a bad thing to do, but I didn't know it would kill the engine. Maybe the engine died for some other reason. Are the fuel valves still open? They are. Did I do something to screw up this plane by fueling it while it was running? Huh. Alright, well, let's shut it all off then. Shut it all off. All back to cold and dark, and then let's go ahead and do a maintenance check. Let's do a where's the thing you can do an inspection? Airframe. Okay, there's the inspection. Okay, so everything is good with the airframe. Let's do an engine inspection. Oh, everything's fine. We'll put one more quart of oil in it. Okay, well, let's start it back up from scratch, and see what happens here. We got the battery, beacon, and nav lights. Let's go ahead and get the fuel pump on. Fuel pressure still showing at 5. Prime it again. Throttle back to 10%. Magnetos. Clear, 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 clear. Huh. Prime it a bit more. So strange. It's got fuel pressure. Valves are open. But man, it's acting like it's got contaminated fuel or something, right? Alright, well, I'll tell you what, since it's acting like it's got contaminated fuel, hey, maybe when we refilled it, we contaminated it with water in the tank somehow. I mean, that'd be odd. We didn't have water in the tanks, and then we added fuel to it, and now we do have water in the tanks. I don't know. But we assume that this A2A Simulations Comanche is telling us something is wrong. Let's listen to it. You know, and again, I never have done the cheat of, hey, let's add fuel to it while it's already running, and I don't know if that has a effect or if that's a coincidence. But let's do another check. That is indeed fuel coming straight out of there, not water. So I don't know. So Dexter says, I had this, I just used the auto start feature in the tablet. Oh, that might be what we resort to. I mean, like I said, we did all that inspection and everything was fine, then it was running fine. Let's try it one more time. Alright, battery is on. Beacon and nav light. Okay, we got fuel pressure. Mix is fully rich. It's so bizarre. So bizarre. And then the tablet is not telling us anything of use in terms of what's wrong with it. This problem is baffling. Well, let's... Alright, I mean, that shouldn't have been the entire problem, but let's see if it plays a role. Alright, beacon nav, fuel pump, fuel pressure, primer. Starter. What? Why? I don't know. I'm stumped, guys. I'm stumped. What we're going to do is we're going to shut it off. And I don't know if it's some sort of a glitch related to the fact that I tried to refuel it after starting it. Alright, well, let's see what state we're leaving it in the tablet. Let's go ahead and recharge the battery. Let's go to engine. Reinspect everything, it says it's fine. Airframe, reinspect everything, it says it's fine. Okay, well, let's go ahead and shut it down. And as you said there's an auto start feature in the tablet. I wonder, where's that? I don't even know. Okay, I don't know, something I wasn't doing right, or something that the auto start fixed for us. Okay, well, hey, good tip. Dextonator, thank you for that. I don't know why it worked, but it worked. Okay, 1,000 RPMs. Leave the mix out till it starts to drop. All right, let's go back to what we were, where we were. Let's make sure we're at 133. And okay, we're altimeter's 2987. Oh, and I want to. Yeah, actually, real time probably okay in this case. All right. And then last things, 122.5 is our common traffic advisory frequency at Fort Yukon. When we get down here to Beaver, it's 122.9. So 122.5. at our destination, at our origin rather, 122.9 at our destination. We're going to monitor guard frequency on COM 2. It looks like we bumped that to 1300. It should be 1200. Altitude mode on. Okay, I think we're set. I think everything's good now. Yeah, Iowa Scott's been stopping in. Okay, alright, I think everything's good. We're going to take off runway 4, left downwind departure, 240 on course, and then pick up the river. So, I think we're fine now. I don't know. I'm uneasy about this now. The other thing that we're going to do today, my landings in this aircraft have not been great. And I have a feeling that part of the reason is that I'm coming in way too fast. I may have over-primed the engine destinator. Oh, that's possible. That's possible. You know, 4 shots in a nice warm day. Maybe too much. iTraveler is here. iTraveler, welcome. So, the recommended approach speed is 80 miles an hour, and I say miles an hour. This gauge is in miles an hour, not knots. The recommended approach speed is 80 miles an hour. The white arc is right there, just above 60. I have a feeling, though, that it's too fast. I think that when it's only me in the cockpit and lightly loaded cargo, I have a feeling that this gauge's markings are based on the aircraft being much heavier than that. I think so, what's happening is I'm coming in too fast. So on our first leg, we're going to do kind of a test pilot thing. We're going to take it up a little extra altitude, and we're going to see what is the actual stall speed and landing configuration, and then we'll go from there. Did the fuel pump breaker pop? No, it didn't. We had just a weird thing where oh, the fuel pump's still on. It doesn't need to be at this point. Oh wait, I got all kinds of. We auto started, and now. Let's see, the avionics switch, fuel pump should be off. Heat's off for now. Beacon light should be on. Nav light should be on. Landing lights off. Yeah, it was a weird thing where I added fuel aerobrad after I started the plane. This is a cheat because I forgot to do it ahead of time. And that is when the engine just suddenly died. So I don't know, it was simulating something with the fuel system. You know, vapor lock, or who knows what it was simulating, but it didn't like the fact that I added fuel to it while it was running. Which, of course, I wouldn't have done in the real world, but I figured in the simulation we can get away with it, but it didn't like it. So, who knows? We're up and running now. That's the important thing. But I am going to do a test at cruise to see what is our actual stall speed and landing configuration, and then we'll use that to kind of gauge what our approach speed should be, because I have a feeling 80 is just too fast. Anyway, so we're going to take off from Fort Yukon on a 040 runway heading, plus or minus, and then a left downwind to 242. So let's go ahead and get going. Parking brakes off, and let's get underway. Weird, my rudder's reversed. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I did, I have to hold the right rudder but the left toe brake. That's bizarre. So I got it. I did change rudder pedals recently, and apparently I entered the axis incorrectly. So let's get the parking brake back on. Okay, yeah, that's backwards. Okay, so let's edit the event. Edit the event. Right. Yeah, that's correct. What the heck is going on? All kinds of glitches today, guys. Alright, it's the PA-24. Yeah, it's moving the rudder the opposite way. So let's just delete that event. Save it. Okay, so now it's not moving the rudder at all. Back inside the plane. Back inside the plane, rather. No brakes are still correct. So let's Z-axis. Add an event. Axis value changed. Standard axis event. Rudder. Full right set. Center set. Full left set. Okay. Okay. Save that. No, it's still doing it the wrong way. It's still doing it the wrong way. It's bizarre. Is it doing the ailerons correctly? Oh, I turned off SPAD. You reboot SPAD now. Yeah, it is. It is one of those days. I don't know. Okay, left aileron works correctly. Right aileron works correctly. It is still doing the pedals in the wrong direction. All right, well let's try it one more time as a standard axis event. Rudder. Full right. Middle. Full left. Okay. Okay. Save. No, it's still going the wrong way. Okay, well let's delete that event. Let's add it as a custom axis event. With the target being axis rudder set, okay. Vert axis on, yes. Rescale you value, yes, from what do we want to do? 1023, negative 1023. Okay. Okay. Oh, it moved, but only a tiny, tiny bit. So what we want to do is edit it from, we don't want to rescale the value. Okay, okay. Okay, that's doing it the proper direction. So that was bizarre. I don't want to exit, I want to just save. Okay. Well, we're good now, I think. Okay. Well, seems to be fine. We want to take off on runway 4, so we've got the full length already. Or do we need to back taxi? Okay, if those are the PAWB lights there, then I guess this is the beginning of the runway. Well, we'll just back taxi. Port Yukon traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor, back taxiing runway 4 for a VFR westbound departure. Port Yukon. Right, since we're on the runway, we'll hit the strobes. Taking off in the direction of the arrow, so we're taxiing in the opposite of the direction of the arrow. Kind of a nice little sanity check to do there. Okay, so short back taxi. Alright, since we're going to go, we'll hit the landing lights, pitot, and fuel pump. Port Yukon traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor, departing runway 4 to be a left downwind VFR westbound departure. Port Yukon. Alright, mix rich. We're not doing a run up. I should. With everything else that's been going on in this aircraft so far today, should do a run up. But we are airborne. So we're not returning to the pavement. We'll go ahead and get the gear in. Laps up. Don't think I even used them. Port Yukon traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's clear. Runway 4, left crosswind, turning left downwind and leaving the area VFR westbound to Fort Yukon. Alright, we can get the RPMs off the red line, get them down to about 24. Manifold to about 24. And we'll take her up to about 2,500. Yeah, we're airborne a little late for leg number 1, but it's okay. It should be a shortish stream anyway. Kind of figuring 3 legs of about 50 miles each. Should take us about 20 minutes in the air each time. So alright, we'll take it up to 2,500. And then on course is the green arrow. But, you know, really at this point, visually following the river. So we're okay. We're okay. fuel pump can be turned off now that we are definitively airborne. Level it at 2500. Bring the power gently back to 22 and 22. Okay, we'll lean the mix out to about 14 gallons an hour. And the speed should continue to gently build until about 170. We'll have to continue to trim down while that happens. Prevent the plane from generating additional lift and going higher and higher than we intend. And yeah, so we're a little bit right, of course, from a 242 standpoint, but we are tracking a little bit north, and then it's a gentle bend around to the left. We were airborne at about 55 minutes after the hour, so 5 minutes before the hour. That's a weird way to say that, but in terms of tracking time, we know it's about a 50-mile leg. So what I mean by that is, should be about quarter after that we're looking for our destination, and our destination is Beaver. We're looking for a Beaver. The 5 and 2-3 will open that link in the new tab. Let's get some more information about that runway. Let's continue to trim down, make sure we're not picking up any extra altitude by accident. CTAS 22.9, we discussed that already. It's a 3,900-foot gravel runway, 5 and 2-3, and we'll just assume. I mean, we can modify our plan if we get down there and we see that the windsock is pointing in a radically different direction than we expect, but we'll just assume that if the weather at our origin rather was 07 or 020 at 7, we figure, you know, it's going to be kind of unlikely that it'll be the opposite direction at somewhere 50 miles away, although not unheard of. So we'll plan to land on runway 5 when we get there. But again, we'll do a inspection of the windsock just to be sure. So 3,900-foot gravel, 5 and 2-3, and it appears we're gonna, if we stay over the water, we're gonna end up on a right downwind. But when we see the airfield, we'll break off and we'll enter a left downwind. So no indication here on the sectional of it being a right-hand traffic pattern to either runway at Beaver. So we can take that to mean that it's a left traffic pattern, and we'll proceed accordingly. All right, let's get down once and for all. I keep saying it, but let's actually do it. Let's trim the aircraft down. Let's get back down to 2,500. But real quick, while we're en route, like I said, let's just bring the power down. We'll put it into landing configuration, so flaps 3, and gear out, and let's just see what speed does it stall at straight line. Because I want to know that. I have a feeling it's going to be less than that 60 whatever's marked on there. But let's try it. Alright, below 150, we can go ahead and get the gear out. Okay, gear's out. Alright, and let's just keep back pressure on the yoke to keep... Well, I mean, we've already lost 200 feet. Be a nice stall recovery drill as well. Well, it's starting to stall right where it's marked. Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know that. I just feel like my landings in this plane have been atrocious, and I feel like it's just an energy management thing. A plane just comes in with too much energy. But it stalls right where it's marked, so I don't know. Let's get back up to 24 and 24 on the power. Get that 500 feet back. Did I get all the flaps in? Uh-oh. Just broke my flap switch. Been one of those nights, man. Alright, so 22 and 22. $14 gallons an hour. Laps are in. Get back down to 2,500. Alright, well, what am I going to do about my flap switch here? Two 2214. Yep. Okay. Well, let's assign something else. Bravo. Delete. Delete. Pressed. Nope. Send simulation event. Lap. Laps decrease, right? Okay. That one, yeah. that's not supposed to be there. Oh, yeah, it was. This is the one I want to add. Button pressed. Flaps increase. Okay. Okay. Alright, well now I gotta change it. I gotta put that course one back here. Alright, so we're at 4,000. Okay, so there's my substitute flap switch. And that flap switch now does nothing. Okay, good, because it's completely broken. Alright, well now I have... This button increases the VOR course, but I don't have the button that decreases the VOR course. So now I gotta set that back. Okay, so that's number 9. We're going to add event for the button to be pressed. Send the simulation event through Sim Connect. VOR. Or no, was it OBS 1? And Sim Connect. Not MD11. Let's cancel. Cancel. How do I have it set up in button 10? VOR1 OBI increase. Gotcha. Okay, so it's VOR1 OBI increase, VOR1 OBI decrease. So button pressed, send a simulation event called OBI, not OBS, that's why. Decrease. Okay. And then also if that is held. Okay, okay there. We also, if we are holding the button, we want to do the same thing. Okay, okay. Oops. Okay, okay, okay. Alright, so we'll save that. Alright, so now I'm at 4,500. Okay. Well, so much for paying attention to my altitude. But anyway, let's make sure that this works now. Press and hold, press and hold. Okay. All right, let's put that back on 050. Okay. And then we'll trim down to start gently losing some altitude here. Let's just set 20 and 20. It's 10 after 8, so we might be about 5 minutes out. But we do need to start really kind of looking at the dips and wiggles of the river and see if we can figure out where along this thing we should be looking. What a stream! We've somehow flooded the engine by fueling out of sequence. And then broke my flap switch. Alright, so there's kind of a consistent stream, and then there's a dip to the south, and when it comes back up, Beaver's right there by that loop. Maybe right in here. It's hard to tell. I mean, all these little side tributaries look the same. I don't know that I see anything that distinctive to be able to say for certain which one I'm at. I want to look that over very carefully there. Maybe this right here. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a northerly bend, and then it comes down here to the south, and then back up. So I'm almost thinking like right in here. Alright, well, I'll tell you what, while we're cruising along looking for our first stop, which it should be a couple minutes ahead yet. I said 8:15. Oh, unless it's not that right there, is it? I don't know. I don't think that looks suspicious. Well, I don't know. I see a little bit of clearing. That could be a road. I don't see a wind sock, though. Let's shade over and look just to be sure. Anyway, while we're Mad Noob is here. Says hello, thank you again. I love it. Happy landings. Thank you for Mad Noob's thanking me for the Slant Alpha T-shirt. Mad Noob was our winner of our most recent landing rate raffle drawing, and just got a Slant Alpha T-shirt in the mail. Says yesterday I did Las Vegas to Boise to Denver to Atlanta to Fort Lauderdale, 11.5 hours. Need another nap? Yeah, I guess so. Every time I thought I could duck out, another controller would pop up. They were tracking you, man. They were like, oh, where's it going next? We'll pop on there. Alright, I've lost sight of that one that we were looking at, but I don't see anything obviously looking like an airport. And I had said there was a distinct southbound bend, and then when it comes back up, it should be like right there. Southbound bend, and then it comes up kind of thicker, and there's cabins there. I don't know how well we're going to be able to see the cabins, how faithfully they are represented here in the ortho scenery. Although I say that, but every time I've said that in this sim, whatever is on the sectional ends up being in the scenery. But we'll see. But there's a distinct southbound bend, and then there's a bend back to the north that comes up a little thicker. So I feel like that's what we're looking at here. And then that would put the airport like right in here somewhere. So we'll be on the lookout. We'll have our eyes peeled. This is around the time that we should be looking for it. It should be basically parallel to where we are flying now. We're flying at a 0. We're flying at a 230 really, and we're going to land in the 050 direction. 5 and 23 runway at our destination, so we should be staring right down the barrel of it, proverbially. But right along in here somewhere is where I would guess. Alright, we don't want to lose any more altitude until we're the field elevation, by the way, 365, so we're 2,000 above field elevation right now. Go ahead and get back to 22 on the RPMs and 22 on the manifold, and about 14 gallons an hour. And trim for level flight. Alright, yeah, so there's kind of a double barrel dip to the left, and then it comes back up slightly wider. Is that kind of what we're seeing here? Double barrel dip to the left, and then it comes back up wider? I mean, yes, but is it that dissimilar than up there? I don't know. What other, so I got a 2,400 foot peak out to the right. If I see that right off our right wing, that's kind of a good corroboration, perhaps. Well, maybe that means we passed it then. No, this is looking like it might be it right below us here. Yeah, there we are. There we are, okay. Well, we're 1,000 feet high, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle back. Let's go ahead and switch over to 22.9er. We'll circle back. We'll go out 4 miles and we'll enter the pattern from pattern altitude. That's a way safer way to go about things. That way you're not descending on top of somebody who's already in the pattern. Now, of course, on VATSIM, it's extremely unlikely that there's anybody else for miles around. But in the real world, you know, you always want to enter the pattern from pattern altitude, and that increases the chance that you're going to see other traffic instead of descending right on top of it. Particularly if you're a low-wing aircraft, you're vulnerable to not seeing aircraft below you. Okay, but the good news is we know where it is and we know what it looks like. So let's go ahead and make an announcement on the advisory frequency. Beaver traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor, zoom over top of the field, north by about a mile maybe. We're going to maneuver to the northeast, and we're going to enter a 45 to left downwind for runway 5, Beaver. And I didn't give my altitude either. That was a little bit of a sloppy call in that regard there. Now we'll go ahead and get the fuel pump on. So we're starting our landing sequence. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get you guys to start putting in predictions as far as the vertical descent rate at the moment the wheels touch runway surface. And there's no bot command necessary for that, just a number into the chat, positive or negative, and we'll know that you mean a descent rate either way. And the closest predictor will get an automatic entry into our monthly landing rate raffle, and the next one of those is going to be pulled on July the 29th. A few weeks from Wednesday. 3 weeks precisely from Wednesday. Alright, so we've headed out on a 45-degree angle away from the runway. Let's turn back and head at a 45-degree angle toward the runway. Now, field elevation's 365. We'll call it 400, essentially, round figures. So let's turn back and we'll make sure we're descending to 1,400 feet. We're at 26, so we got another 1,000 to change to lose here. Beaver traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor is about 4 miles north. We are 2,500 descending. We're going to maneuver for a 45 to left downwind entry to runway 5. Full stop, Beaver. Alright, so due south. Should put us right on a collision course with midfield. And I think there's that stretch of the river that comes back to the north, and it should be right there at the apex of that somewhere. Okay, we're still a little high. Okay, we're going to keep the power dropped out, but I am going to start spinning the props up faster. As I like to say, that's like downshifting the car. We're not picking up power, we're just downshifting into a lower gear, so the engine's spinning faster, but we're off of the gas. 2400 is good. Alright, and there's 1400 feet mean sea level. So let's keep that. Having trouble spotting the runway. It should be kind of like right ahead of us, though. Low 150, we can go gear out. I gotta remember my new flap switch here. Beaver traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's mile or so north, working on array 45 to left downwind, runway 5. We'll stop, Beaver. We should be kind of headed right for it. The apex where it comes back up to the north. But it's so surrounded by trees. Okay, yeah, I think this is it right here. Kind of see the cut in the river, or in the trees rather, just before the river. Let's go first notch flaps. Keep those predictions coming. Yeah, there's our runway. Keep those predictions coming. Number into the chat, with or without the minus sign. We'll know that you mean a descent rate either way. Beaver traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's midfield downwind for runway 5, full stop. Beaver. Got one more notch of flaps to go, but we're gonna hold off until we make our base turn here. That's if we lose sight of it, it's right smack up against the river. It's not. We aim for water, we'll be almost there. And I got to remember, I can line it up with this rivet here, not the center of the cowl. Like I've been kind of fooling myself with the parallax a little bit. All right, flaps and I'm sorry, yeah, prop and mix full. Flaps are full. Beaver traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's left downwind to left base, and left base to final now for runway 5. Stop, Beaver. Alright, we're on final, so let's go ahead and let the altitude start coming off. And it's just alongside the water. Oh yeah, alright, well we're good. Okay. Let the speed bleed off. A little bit of power to keep 80. Looks like we're grabbing slightly nose to the right, so we'll correct that. bit of a rough surface, but other than that, I didn't feel like I did too bad with the,
I'm gonna need some pliers.
did too bad with the approach.
Set of 30-weight ball bearings.
What the hell you need ball bearings for?
It's all ball bearings nowadays.
All right, yeah, Kenny says he should have guessed lower. I'm not sure what's going to have registered. I mean, it was a nice, stable approach, but I do feel like it was a little bit of a firm hit, and you know, we were probably descending a little bit faster because the runway was descending too. So, number might have registered higher than we think. But strobes, landing lights, pitot, and fuel pump can come off, and flaps stowed. So yeah, bizarre stream so far. We flooded the engine accidentally because I cheated and fueled after it started, and I didn't like that. Then we had, you know, the rudder registering backwards, so we had to fix that, and then we had the flap lever on my Bravo broke. So it's been a wild one so far. We never even talked about our slant artwork adventure. Talk about that here in just a minute as well. Get the parking brake on, and the mix leaned out right to where the RPM starts to drop. Alright, leg one in the books. Oh, okay. I'm looking at vertical speed. It says vertical speed 0, and I'm like, well, that can't be. Well, okay, but that's my current vertical speed, which makes sense. Uh, 35 is what registered. Now, touchdown zone it dinged me for, but I don't know if it's counting that white section as the beginning of the runway or the paved section as the beginning of the runway, or did I float it that badly over the paved section? I'm not really sure, but that's okay. We'll take it. I mean, overall, it scored me an 85 out of 100, and that's not bad at all. And centerline and crab was all worked out pretty well. If we hit the replay, you know, we'll see. You know, I did have... Yeah, I'm not sure what it's scoring as the touchdown zone there. But I was happy. Centerline looked good. Yeah, we drifted off to the left a little bit after we landed. We didn't have a marked centerline anyway, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of slack on that. But yeah, look, so had a bit of a crab angle coming in, but then as we touched down, yeah, kind of got that mitigated. You can see the rudder input. I don't know why the rudder input's top to bottom. That's bizarre. But you can see I had a little bit of right rudder in and mitigated that, so. Yeah, so 35 is the number that registered. And so let's see how we did with that. Kenny, well, I should have played my 33. You played Possum on us again. I never know. It's so unpredictable. It's so hard to figure. We don't know what the runway conditions are going to be when we get here. What did we have? We had 76, 185, 73, and 43. So Iowa Scotsman will pick up the win there. And where are we? PAWB. Fat ass white beaver. Sorry. I know, I try to keep it PG-13, but I couldn't help myself on that one. Anyway, there we are, landing number 1 in the books. Landing number 2 is going to take us from PAWB downriver to Stevens Village, and this one's 45 miles, so again, about 15 to 20 minutes. And again, along a section of river where there's just tons and tons of these, all these extra little tributaries and side loops, and just water everywhere, as they say. But we have a pretty distinctive, almost M shape there, and then a southerly dip that splits off into like 3 or 4 and comes back, and then the airfield's kind of tucked into that little nook there. If I right-click on that, open a new tab. 4,000-foot gravel and dirt, 5 and 2-3, so pretty much very similar to what we just landed on. And then 122.9 again, so we can keep the same common traffic advisory frequency for both. So yeah, I think let's just go ahead and take off northeast, left downwind. I'm sorry, up here. Northeast, left downwind, and follow the river, and then once we think we see this M-shaped structure here, we'll break off and join a left downwind to the runway. On this one, I saw the field, and then I broke off north, and then came in for a 45 to left downwind. How did that end up looking, by the way? Yeah, pretty solid. Pretty solid pattern entry. We were at 2,500 here, and I didn't want to enter the pattern by descending into it. You never want to descend into the pattern. So we broke off to the north, and then we circled, and this was our 45 left downwind. And left base and final, that was kind of a one continuous turn, really, but yeah, it worked out fairly well other than that. All right, so far so good, friends. Let's keep our fingers crossed that our technical problems are behind us, and the rest of the stream will go. Uneventfully. Let's recalibrate our directional gyro. We're parked at a 31, 32, like a 323 or thereabouts. So yeah, we are about 10 degrees off. And I noticed that coming in that the arrow wasn't aligned straight up. I figured the directional gyro was misaligned. I probably, before we took off, I probably misaligned it by 10 degrees. Sometimes if it's just to the right of a 5 mark or just to the left of a 5 mark, I do the opposite down here just because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. But it is 330 minus about 7 there, and so yeah, that's what we're reflecting that accordingly. So we're good there. Runway 5, and then on course. We're just going to call it left. I'm just going to set the arrow and the heading bug in the same direction because we know it's going to be a left downwind. Yeah. So the monitor, Mad Noob. So you're supposed to keep this up to date with the amount of fuel, the amount of oil. You're supposed to kind of this engine monitor is really supposed to help you make sure that you're managing your engine properly. I just never reset the values. I don't even look at it. I've got the analog gauges that give me all the information I need. The one thing I do try to take note of is the cylinder head temp. I forget which cylinder it probes, but it always kind of reads cool. Whereas these cylinders that are in the end of the chain, they read hotter. I think they're actually in the beginning of the chain, to be honest. So they end up reading hotter. So this is a per cylinder head temp monitor, and if one of those starts flashing hot, I will kind of take note of that, and I'll bring the manifold pressure down or the RPMs down a little bit. Other than that, I don't really pay attention to this gauge. And what it was telling was remaining, REM remaining fuel, I think, was trying to tell us that we were about to run out of fuel. But we're not. We got plenty. We got 15 in each side, 15 plus in each side. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could just, uninstall this whole gauge here, or shut it off. Pull the circuit breaker for it. But I think if I pull the circuit breaker, it's for the entire... Yeah, the circuit breaker would be for the entire panel, so I can't pull the breaker just individually for that. I wish I could just uninstall it. Yeah, so just ignore the warning. How Boeing, right? Right, yeah, exactly. Anyway, you reminded me of that, and that furry co-pilot reminded me of our slant artwork adventure, so I never did show you this. This is our slant artwork adventure for the night. Started off with a pretty innocuous image of us heading down the Yukon River in our Piper Comanche. And it didn't get the livery exactly right. It got it pretty close, though. But we're over top the Yukon River, and we're circling around kind of an abandoned rear steamboat type thing. So there's our slant artwork adventure, and then if you guys want to add to or modify this image somehow, you can cash in 500 of the Twitch channel points, aka the alphabets points. And yeah, it's a nice, serene, rusted out riverboat, and you know the riverboats going up and down the Yukon would have been used as part of the Yukon Gold Rush, and then a lot of them after the Gold Rush kind of ended, a lot of them got abandoned. So it is fairly common to see some of these along the river, I suppose. But anyway, it's kind of a serene, serious image for starters, but don't hesitate to, if you want to add to or modify the image, you cash in 500 of the Twitch channel points, aka the alphabets points. Don't hesitate to take it silly if you want to take it silly, or you can continue the serious theme if you'd like. Whatever you'd like to do. Mad Noob is first in line to modify the image. What would you like to do to it? Yeah, I'm always serious, Clark. Yeah, indeed. Oh, the pup's by the boat waving us in for rescue? Okay. Let me get my reference image ready. Keep them right up on the desktop at this point. That's smart. Iowa, you were the one to pick up the ticket. It was 35, I think it was. Okay, we're working on that there, Mad Noob. While we're waiting on it, we'll get going. So let's set the flaps for departure. Set the trim for departure. We're going to depart to the right, so we're going to taxi to the left. Okay. And what's this called? What's the place called? Beaver traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's back taxiing runway 5. It's going to be a BFR westbound departure, Beaver. Still should do a run up, still won't. We'll go mix full rich. We entered the runway. I should have turned the strobes on when we did that. Pitot and fuel pump can come on now as well, and landing in landing lights left and right. Yeah, so I wonder if it dinged me for not landing in the touchdown zone because this was what I floated over. I don't know. Yeah, 35 is correct. Beaver traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor is departing runway 5. It'll be a left downwind departure, VFR to the west, Beaver. So the rudder direction and the brake direction agree now. That's good. Okay, here we go. Takeoff power coming at you. Takeoff power set. Feels like it needs a lot more right rudder to stay stable, but it's not. It's just the fact that on my new controls, I have to push the right rudder a lot farther to get the same effect. Not used to that yet. We'll pitch to 105. Nope. Grip it dropping. Okay, definitely not going to return to pavement at this point. Gear can come up. Flaps can come up. And we'll go left downwind. Even though the river's on our right. Pull the RPMs down to 24. Manifold down to 24. Pitch to that 105. Beaver traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's clear of runway 5. We're on a left crosswind. And it's about to turn left downwind and continue VFR to the west, Beaver. Okay, 24 and 24. For 105. We're on downwind. Beaver traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's on the left downwind, 1,900 climbing and leaving the area to the west, Beaver traffic. Okay, and leveling off at 2,500. $22 on the RPMs, 22 on the manifold. Good amount of trim down. Yeah, I upgraded the rudders there, Melvin. I ditched my cheapy Thrustmaster T-flights and got a used set of Charlies. So I got the whole honeycomb alphabet for right now. I guess somebody said they make an Echo, or are coming out with an Echo. They never did release the Delta, which was like the autopilot panel. But we got the full ABCs now in terms of honeycomb, which is nice. They're nice. It's been a little bit of a process in getting them configured. For some reason, they report differently than the old T-flights did, and I have to set them differently into the. I have to map them differently to the controls. Tonight, they were reading in the opposite direction no matter what I did, so I had to go to a different mapping process to get them working properly. But yeah, the first glitch was when I started the engine, and then I was like, oh, that's right, guys, I forgot. I said I was going to gas it up to about 20 gallons on each side. But when I did that, the engine sputtered and died, and then it didn't want to restart. So that was glitch number one. Glitch number two was the rudders were mapping the opposite direction, which was bizarre. And then glitch number three was I broke my my flap control on my Bravo. It still works, but the spring is gone, so anytime you breathe on it, it moves the flaps up or down. So it's been a bizarre night. Airborne at about quarter till, so looking right about top of the hour, we should be seeing our destination here. Yeah, been a bit of a weird one, Melvin. But it's okay, right? Adapt and overcome, right? Let's see how our slant artwork adventure turned out. So the pups are on top. That was a phantom paw. I guess somebody's behind Mozzie with another paw in the air, I guess. Yeah, both of them have extra paws that they're waving. Oh well, so we've got a few extra paws, a few extra appendages that they're waving to try and get me to spot them and circle down for them. I guess landing on sandbars was one of our previous Bush League adventures, huh? Although there's a few too many logs and twigs hanging out on that sandbar, I think. Yeah, so we got a few extra appendages there. That's not bad though. Not bad. We can try to fix that in the next iteration. Next time we get a modification. But anyway, that's our slant artwork adventure. If you want to get in on that action, you can cash in 500 of the Twitch channel points, aka the Alphabets points, there at the bottom of the chat panel. And then once you do so, it's your turn to let me know right in the chat what you'd like to do to add to or modify that image. Something incremental. Don't spit out a whole paragraph or anything. We got to put some Tundra tires on that plane? Yeah, I would guess so. And I'm kind of drifting in a turn there while I'm trying to type. Okay, we'll see how that goes, Mad Noob. So, and the reason it took me so long to type that, oh, we can lean the mix out to 14 gallons an hour, by the way. While we're in cruise, so it's a little bit more economic on fuel. A little nicer on the engine. It's actually, the more you lean it, the hotter the engine runs. But it can develop better power without all that extra fuel left over after the combustion, so good to do that anyway. I picked up a little extra altitude here, so let's see if we can maybe get that fixed. Okay, well, we have a few little problems here. We got the tricycle gear version of the Comanche, which I've never heard of. Finley and Mozzie are both have the correct number of paws, but Keeley still has 2 extra paws. And we got the tricycle. We don't have the tricycle configuration. We got the tail dragger configuration of the Comanche, which I don't think it makes. But hey, we know we're in the ballpark. The valiant effort. Alright, manifolds 22, RPMs, bring them down to 22, 14 gallons an hour. Rest of the engine gauges are happy. We've still got a couple extra 100 feet. We'll drop And then let's make sure we're watching. So we've got, you know, this first M-shaped feature here, second M-shaped feature here. On this first M-shaped feature, on the left side we have what's called Kingslough Village. And I think that's what we're seeing here, is this first M-shaped feature and then this little town up ahead. Is that what that was? No? Maybe? I don't know. I thought, zoomed out here, I thought it was a town. But zooming in, it does look like it's just flat. I don't know. Got an almost triangular river, or triangular island angled to the right there. Trying to figure out which one it is. The other thing that we have found out, tracking parts of the Yukon River before, is that the scenery isn't always perfectly in line with the sectional. Sectional, of course, is going to be current. Scenery, if the scenery was generated from imagery from 10 or 15 years ago, we found that there was a previous stream we did on the Yukon River up near Unalakleet, and we found that the river had clearly changed paths quite significantly in that time. So I don't know if all these specific dips and wiggles are going to be accurately represented. So we'll have to kind of just keep track here. So we got a 90 degree and a 90 degree and almost like a squared off there. I feel like might be this, right? That's very squared off with a triangular island that's kind of angled to the right. So I feel like this might be what we just saw. And then let's just see if we get this very sharp left, right, and then a left with like a tri-path there. Like 3 lanes almost. If this was what we just saw, I wonder if we can see this hood-shaped formation to our right, perhaps. Yeah, it's hard to tell. We got a high peak way up to the right. If that was there, maybe this is what we were seeing there, Lone Mountain. Okay, so I'm relatively confident that this is where we are. We're about halfway. If that's where we are now, another 15 miles to go, perhaps. This almost heart-shaped loop here. Yeah, it might be this one that I just put the dot over. All right, well, let's see if we've got this M-shaped here, and then 3 lanes of traffic down there. So if this is the M-shaped formation with a big, like almost a 270 degree loop down, and then the M-shaped formation, yeah, that looks like that, I guess. And then so let's stay, and then on the top of that apex, there should be a pretty distinct tributary that comes right out of there. And if that is indeed what we see, then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to stay along, adjacent to the north. I mean, we're going to want to skim the north edge of that because our pattern is going to end up looking like that. So let's stay just to the north of that M. Okay. Alright, so we should be right in here somewhere. And again, field elevation 328, so 1300 is pattern elevation. So we got 1,400 feet to lose here, but we also want to make sure we're correct about our destination. I don't 100% see it. But if this is that second hump of the M shape, it's going to be like tucked in right. Oh, it'd be right there. That one or that one? All right. Well, let's. We're flying a 225 here. Let's get our directional gyro set on exactly 225, and then let's see where the compass settles in. Compass settles in on a 220. Okay, so that's fine. Let's rock that back about 5 degrees to get those in agreement. So yeah, if this is that big swooping 270, and then this is the M-shaped formation here, our destination, I think it's that right there. I think that's our runway. And if that's the case, 328, all right, we want to be at 1,300. You guys can start putting some predictions into the chat as far as the vertical descent rate at the moment the wheel starts runway, so if there's no bot command necessary. Either that one or this one. No bot command necessary, just a number into the chat, positive or negative. We'll know that you mean a descent rate either way. I think it's probably this one. And the closest prediction is going to get our next entry into our landing rate raffle. Which will next be drawn on the July the 29th. Yeah, Matt says blinking red lights or messages really bother. I know, man. But I've reset it. It's just going to start doing a little bit. You know, if I could just rip this out, I would do that. If this were really my plane, that's exactly what I would do. I don't know. If it were really my plane, I mean, it's trying to help me not damage the engine, right? So if it were really my plane, I would learn how to use it. I'm confident in ignoring it. All right, yeah, I think it's this right here. Stevens Village traffic, I'm actually 514 Delta Victor's 1,900 descending. We're going to enter a left downwind runway 5, full stop, Stevens Village. Stay out here to the right. Square off the downwind a bit. I'm still descending into the pattern to some extent, so kind of a bad simulator pilot habit right there. So let's get it down to 1,300. Let's spin the props up to help us slow down. Alright, there's 2,400. Power's nice and backed out. Let's level it at 14. Speed's down to 150. Gear can come out. We'll pump on. I thought that was the runway. I'm now having severe doubts. Maybe that next to it. We'll set up for it. we'll set up for it, and if I turn out to be wrong, then obviously we'll do another loop here. Oh, is this it right here? Okay, yeah, that's it right there. Stevens Village traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's left downwind midfield now. Stevens Village, runway 5. Okay, mix and props are full. Whoops. Should be in flaps 2 right now. I'm trying to trim up. Okay, yeah, there's our runway. There's our runway for sure. We'll run it out to this little bend in the river. And then again, kind of a left downwind and a base and final turn right on top of each other. Stevens Village traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor, left downwind to left base to final, runway 5, full stop, Stevens Village. Alright, last call for the predictions, friends. Oh, there we are. Start looking at this. I think we're in good shape, though. Yeah, gears down and green, flaps full. Aiming for 80 knots, or 80 miles an hour, rather. Once again, appear to be kind of crabbing. Maybe not. Maybe not crabbing that badly. It looks like it's nose right to me. We'll get a little left rudder around. Leave the power right where it is. Yeah, we're floating this one badly because I got to follow the contours of the pavement. So touchdown zone is going to really ding me. Touchdown zone is going to really ding me, but it really wasn't much I could do about that because the runway was curving up and down. Stevens Village traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's down and back taxiing runway 5, Stevens Village. Yeah, runway's plenty long for this plane. Still don't like to float it that badly when I can help it, but I mean, you know, like I said, these hills and whatnot were not leaving me much of a choice. Mad Noob says in the Airbus, I can't stand the company message that pops up. Then you look at it, they're just telling you that they don't want to talk to you. Can I send you a text saying I don't have anything to say and I don't want you to respond? Yeah, I'm with you. Please don't. I don't know that that's really a paved area for us to pull off onto, but we'll do it anyway. Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. Alright, parking brake on. I guess strobes, landing lights, pitot, and fuel pump come off. I said parking brake on. Okay, there we are. Alright, and then let's get the mixed leans right to the point where it loses RPMs. And we can... Oh yeah, we can stow the flaps. And reset the trim. Alright, so let's see how we did. Yeah, reasonable number. Oh wow. Scored me a 97. Dinging me only for bank angle. And 1 for the vertical speed. And the vertical speed was 80, so I was very pleased with it. And it gave us a pretty generous touchdown zone there. We did have a 4-knot crosswind from the right, so yeah, I was correct to say that we were crabbed over just a little bit, and you can see that I had a little bit of rudder in to counter. And a little bit of roller coastery, a little bit of over controlling pitch on final, but again, kind of trying to follow the contours of the runway. So I'll allow myself a bit of a slack on that. This little bump here, it's measuring height above ground level. So when it says height AGL, so if there's a bump in the terrain, that's going to get reflected in the vertical path here. That's not really my doing where we hit turbulence or something. That's just a change in the terrain elevation that we were over top of. So to some extent you'll see some variation in high terrain areas. You'll see some variation that's terrain related rather than my doing, and that's could be to some extent what's reflected here as well, I guess. But anyway, so the number when we finally touched down was 80, so that's not bad. Another great one is the company message that lets you know you landed. Thank goodness for that information. Right, I wouldn't know unless you told me. All right, 80 was the number that registered, so let's see how you guys did. We got 73, we got 43, we got 33. So Aerobrad picks up the win there. That PFSV, Papa Foxtrot Sierra Victor, 176. Alright, well, I got to take a brief intermission for some liquid recycling, but we got one more leg to do, and that's going to wrap it for tonight. A little bit of a shorter stream tonight, as I thought it might be. But with the Part Stevens Village, and we've got a much more singular stream of river to follow, should be a little easier to tell where we are in relation to this river. And then we've got some high terrain down to the south of where our final destination is, Rampart. We're gonna watch for this weather moving through. Don't know how well or poorly that's going to be reflected in the sim, or accurately or timely. But that's going to be reflected in the sims. We'll have to perhaps make some aeronautical decision-making kind of judgments when we get there. What's the runway going to be like? 11 and 29, 3,500 foot gravel. Okay. And 22.9 again. So we're 22.9 the entire night, except for our initial origin. Oh, we got terrain to our north and south there. Okay, very good. Well, let's take a quick break out of the cockpit and do a little liquid recycling. Of course, we've got our slant artwork adventure, guys, as well, so maybe start thinking about what you would like to do to add to or modify that to your liking. Our slant artwork adventure is our Comanche. We got the Comanche in triangle, in a triangle, tail dragger configuration, which is a bit of an anomaly. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. We got the nice big Tundra tires on it as we're getting ready to land on the sandbar here and rescue our rescues. Keely's still got a couple of extra appendages, but the other two pups are there kind of just waving us down so that we can land along the Yukon River and the rusted out Yukon Queen and pick up our pups. Yeah, the Tundra tires do look great, but goofy configuration. That's okay. It's a goofy image. It's a goofy night. It's a night where we've got all kinds of weird glitches going on. So not completely out of character that we would have some on the image as well. But anyway, we'll get back to the flying. We got one more leg to fly for you just after this, so sit tight and we'll get to it in a bit. Be right back, friends. Right back with you. Thanks for your patience and Mad Noob. So I see you want to get one more. One more addition into our slant artwork adventure. So we are working on that, and I'm also trying to make a couple corrections to the existing image in conjunction with your addition there. So we'll see how that works out for us. But anyway, yeah, well, let's continue our trek along the Yukon River, as we have made 2 out of our 3 hops for the evening, and are just getting ready to start our final one. Departing from Stevens Village, we're going to head down to Rampart, but we do have to watch. We can kind of see some dark clouds up ahead. That is the direction, well, that's behind us in terms of the direction we're headed. Weather that we're going to be flying into is behind us as we're sitting. Okay, if we're facing forward, we're facing the direction we came from, is what I'm trying to say, and I said it very badly and confusingly. We do see some weather returns moving through Rampart, but again, we'll see what we see when we get down there. All right, but again, we're going to depart on runway 5, left downwind. We'll join the river, follow that down, and Rampart's an 11 and 29. Then looks like we're going to be landing on runway 11 if everything is coming from the east. So we'll see how we do with that. Still waiting on the image. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and go. Let's go ahead and get flaps 1 set. Trim's already set. On the pedals here. Parking brake is off. Alright, and we're going to depart in the direction facing forward. Let's real quick, we're parked at exactly a 050 here. Let's make sure our directional gyro reflects that. Well, we got the plane in tricycle gear, but lost our Tundra tires. We still have 1 extra paw on the pup. It's getting better. And then we got our miners down there panning, so... bit by bit, we're getting there. All right. Stevens Village traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's back taxiing runway 5 for VFR westbound departure, Stevens Village. Since we're on the runway, we'll go ahead and activate our strobe lights. We'll get our landing lights going once we are getting ready to rock and roll. Alright, RPM's down to 10. We'll mix rich. Landing lights on, P-tail fuel pump on. Stevens Village traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's departing runway 5. Left downwind, VFR westbound, Stevens Village. Alright. Takeoff power's coming at you. Airspeed's alive. There's 80. We'll rotate her up. Just to 105. And bring the gear in as soon as we're sure we don't need to return to the pavement. Flaps can come up. Bring the RPMs down off the red line to 24. Manifold's already at 24. So yeah, 24 and 24 and 105. Okay. And turning left downwind. Stevens Village traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's clear, runway 5, left crosswind, and then we'll be left downwind departing the area to the west, Stevens Village. We're 1300 climbing. Okay. Trying to pitch to maintain 105 here. Okay, there's our left downwind. And yeah, not doing well. Not doing real well in terms of pitching to maintain the 105. But we can start to roll out onto our cruise altitude of 2500. And yeah, so all these different tributaries of the river are now merging, and we're following just one. Now we could shortcut and just go up ahead of that one, but I think it'd be more fun if we're going to run along the river. Let's run along the river, as the episode title would indicate. Alright, so I'm going to level it off, trim it out to 2500. I'm going to leave it in climb power for now, and the manifold pressure's decayed a little bit just because I wasn't increasing it as we went. Oh, Stevensville, traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's a couple miles west of the airport now, leveling at 2,500, following the river and leaving the area to the west. Stevens Village. Okay. Picking up just a little extra altitude, so we're trimming it back down to get down to 2,500. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and bring the RPMs down to 22. Manifold down to 22. Lean the mix out until we're burning about 14 gallons an hour. Okay. 2214. Trimmed out at 2500 and stable at our cruise speed, so all is well. Yeah, let's cut the corner. We can see that the river dips down to the left, comes back up here. Let's just cut the corner, save ourselves a little time. So Mad Noob says, have you checked out the latest update for 2024? I flew down the Grand Canyon. It looks amazing. Yeah, you're talking about World Update, was it 22? Which was the National Parks update. I have not yet. You know, it's so funny. If you look at the VATUSA.net calendar, it's the never want to know what events are happening within VATUSA. VATUSA.net, Pilot Tools, Events Calendar. Well, if you go back to the beginning of June, National Parks and National Monuments Friday Night Ops event. I think that was, I don't know if that was intentionally scheduled to come out at the very same time as the World Update, National Parks and National Monuments, but it did. It came out like right that same weekend. So I have to assume that was intentional. I can't believe that would be a coincidence. It's too much of a coincidence. No, that was one that ZDC hosted, the National Monuments one. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about the World Update that was scheduled to come out, but yeah, I have to believe that there was some knowledge of that. How can you get ATC when you're in the canyon, though? Well, that's the other thing that more recently happened, was that audio for VATSIM, AFV, that this voice simulation server structure that lives within the pilot client and the ATC clients, got an update also, not that same weekend, but a little bit later, in which, you know, terrain obstruction now happens between radio signal transmitters and receivers. So, to your point, Mad Noob, it now could be the case that two aircraft nearby would not be able to hear each other, or at least not be able to hear each other very well if they're on opposite sides of one of these ridges. Well, that now has effect on VATSIM as well. So, you know, and if you look at, so Melvin Leroy commenting on that thought is apropos, because if you go over to downwindsim.com, we used to do a monthly series where we would do backcountry style flying in canyons and mountains and valleys and things like that. If you go back to page 7 here, I guess. November 2019, and you know, we started making it a monthly thing and did it pretty regularly for about 5 years. So downwindsim.com is where you want to go. And so that was a regular feature on the stream, first Monday of every month. And so now that enhanced radio simulation is a thing, it would be fun to go back and try some of those again, or maybe find some new areas to explore and see that put to effect. Virtual USA Flying Club also did an event called the Canyon Ball Run. That's great. That's fantastic. Well, so I don't know about storms. You know, it doesn't look real favorable cloud-wise, but it doesn't look like it's stormy. But I can feel that we're here that we're getting kicked around a little bit because of wind. So wind might be an issue coming up here. All right, we're coming across this bend on the river with a bridge. I wonder if we can see where that is. If I blank the route out, so we're down to our last leg, we'll put just our final leg here in the plan. And we kind of cut across, yeah, so I would say we cut across this bend to the south, and we're right over top of that bridge there now. Going through where there's a little bit more terrain on either side as well. So we said that the landing direction at our destination was going to be in 11. Runway 11, so we'll get that set there. Kim OG is back in the chat. Good to see you. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's going smooth. It's getting rougher now. We're getting into some wind, some little bit of turbulence, a little bit of stormy air. But yeah, I mean, flight's going okay now. You missed the beginning of the stream, Kim. We had a series of glitches. I started the plane up, and then I was like, oh, I forgot. We need to put some more gas in it. So I went ahead and opened up the tablet and put the fuel tanks up to 20. And I don't know if it like vapor locked or whatever it did. Whatever it did when I added fuel after the plane was already started, it didn't like it. And so the engine sputtered out and died, and we could get it to start and turn over, but then it would die again immediately. And we wound up having to auto start it from the tablet in order to get it to work again. So I don't know what I did to the fuel system by simulating that we were adding fuel after the plane was running. It didn't like that at all, even though I was saying, oh, we're not really going to refuel it while it's running. But you know, just for sim purposes, we'll go ahead and put it up to 20 per. Well, I guess I should have known better. I should have done it in a more realistic order. Oh, shut the plane back down, add fuel, start it back up again. I'll know for next time. Anyway, Simulations doesn't like it when you buck reality, huh? So that was glitch number one. Glitch number two was I had changed rudder pedals recently. I got, I had the old, kind of cheap plastic Thrustmaster teeth lights, and I got a set of Honeycomb Charlies. Well, for whatever reason, when I assigned it in the Comanche, it was reading them backwards. No matter how I assigned them or mapped them, it was reading them backwards. So then I had to, A, figure out what's going on there, and B, I had to use a different method of mapping them to the controls to get that sorted out. And then the third glitch was my flap button on the Honeycomb Bravo broke. It still works, but the spring, I guess, came disconnected, and so the lever's just kind of flapping there. The flap lever's just flapping. Go figure. So if you breathe on it, it just it starts moving your flaps around. So now I had to remap those to a different switch on the setup. So yeah, just all kinds of weird stuff happening on the stream, but we got all that sorted out, and things are going more smoothly now. And I've actually managed a couple of decent landings so far, 2 for 2 on the 2 for 2 on the on the landings of this thing. So it ain't all been bad. Yeah, did I buy from Temu? Right. I must have gotten sold a set of Charlie backwards pedals, Melvin. Yeah, so I don't know, Kim. I bought all three of these devices used. My Alpha, my Bravo, and my Charlie. I bought them all used. So I don't know what warranty existed with the original buyer, but I kind of highly doubt any of them apply. But I might be able to unscrew that and figure out what happened with the spring. And I mean, it still registers. It just if you breathe on it funny, it starts moving around. So you know, and I've had this Bravo for a while now, so it's done well for me. Yeah, just stop breathing, says Mad Dude. That's how you fix that. How's the artwork coming along? Well, the artwork's got its fair share of glitches too. The artwork's got its fair share of glitches too. Just in concert with the stream, we got the Comanche flying over the riverbank of the Yukon. We got a rusted out paddle boat there, riverboat there. We got the pups. The pups still got one extra appendage there. The other ones we kind of got that sorted out. But we got some miners down there, and we did have Tundra tires on it, but it was in tricycle gear. I mean, it was on tail dragger configuration, so we put it back in tricycle, but we lost our Tundra tires. So boat's supposed to be in the water. So it's an abandoned riverboat. You can see it's rusted out. So that part was intentional. But I mean, heck, if you want to put it in the water, you can do that. Alright, so we're coming up on a little island and then a right turn to turn southbound. We're kind of headed east now, and then we're going to turn south here. So I think we're probably right over that right there. we did kind of go out to that direction. Yeah, not too much further downriver before we hit our final destination for the. Yeah, so apparently there are a number of these abandoned paddle boats along the Yukon related to the Gold Rush era, and a couple of them have been kind of commandeered and turned into museums, and a few, from what I gather, are just remain abandoned and untouched. But at least one has been turned into kind of a museum piece, allegedly. I mean, I'm kind of learning the history of this area as I go. Like, I mean, obviously, I knew in general terms that there was a gold rush in the Yukon Territory, from childhood history class, but but yeah, I'm kind of as we get ready to start each one of these episodes, I do a little brush up of the history of the portion of the river that we're flying that evening, and get these little tidbits. So I'm learning as we go. Alright, so Rampart Airport, again, 3,500 gravel, 11 and 2.9. Just looking up ahead, I mean, the weather doesn't look... The weather looks a little bit ominous, but it doesn't look like it's going to threaten to knock us out of the sky. That one's a rust bucket, and there are definitely signs you should stay away, but dumb fools like me will go check it out anyway. Yeah, I know. So, funny story, Mad Noob. On our property, when my wife and I had bought a house in northern Baltimore County, and it had previously been farmland, but it had become all wooded over decades later. Well, when it was all open farmland, the owner there had apparently was a very eccentric guy. He had acquired a couple of old Baltimore trolley cars, and he had them hauled out there to down by this little creek bed to serve as kind of a clubhouse for his kids. And he had two of them, and they were in pretty good condition back in the decades prior to us ever living up there. Well, over time, of course, the area got kind of wooded over, and the trolley cars kind of just rusted out. But there's such an interesting piece of history, and the whole the row of houses that we lived in was adjacent to one of the state parks up in northern Baltimore County, and so people would come up and they would hike through there, and they would occasionally they would hunt through there, which sometimes they were allowed to do and sometimes they weren't, depending on the time of year, but they would come do it anyway. But they would do a lot of hiking and trails and stuff in the woods up there in the state park, and then they would see these rusted out trolley cars that were on our private property, but it wasn't really well marked as being our private property. They would just know that, oh, hey, I'm in the state park doing some hiking, and there's this old rusted out trolley car. So we would find folks trying desperately and in very difficult footing conditions to make their way down this very sloped area to get to where these rusted out trolley cars were down by the creek bed that, like I said, had all kind of become wooded over the decades. So it was neat. People that were very, very interested in that history, but it wasn't real safe moving around, and we never minded. No one ever disturbed anything that was of value to us. It was an interesting piece of property. It was sold to us by a family friend, and we only wound up living there for 2 years before I got the job down here on the Eastern Shore which caused us to sell that house and move down here. Unfortunately, it remains in my wife's family, so all good. But yeah, pretty interesting little piece of property up there with its history. The other thing he had was an old ticket booth from the original Oriole Park, not the present one that was built in 1992 or that opened in 1992, but the original Oriole Park, for which the modern one was named. that was kind of more in a midtown area, not too far from where what became Memorial Stadium when back in the 80s, 50s to the 80s, the modern day Baltimore Orioles played in what was called Memorial Stadium, and it was built as a memorial to World War II. Well, the original Oriole Park, which I guess was where it was a minor league team, and it may have even been a Negro League team that played in Baltimore at what was originally called Oriole Park. And he had, when that closed down, he had commandeered one of the ticket booths as, again, a little clubhouse for his daughter to go back in behind the house and play ball. So we had an old ticket booth from the original Oriole Park, and we had 2 rusted trolley cars way down the ravine by the creek bank. Bizarre place. The postscript to that story is that when we first fired up Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, I was like, well, I wonder, and that was the big thing, was like, it's such accurate ortho scenery for the entire globe. Like, it's accurate to the point where buildings that you recognize, you'll be able to see in the sim. And I was like, well, what's going to show there? Well, we found our house, and we found the little outbuilding, like almost like a barn or shed next to our house. And it was depicted in approximately the correct shape, even though the house had been added onto a bunch of times. It was a very odd shape, but it got it mostly correct. And then down in the creek bed, it had depicted a, like, what would you call, like a mobile home park trailer, like a trailer park trailer, down by the creek bed. And I'm like, you know what? That's pretty good. That's pretty darn close. Like, you wouldn't expect a rusted out trolley car to be there, but you find something of that approximate dimension, it's a good guess to say, oh, it's probably a rusted out trolley bed. Or it's not a rusted out trolley car. It's probably a trailer park. Well, here's our destination, by the way. Just realized we're just about flying right past it. So I'm at 3,000 feet. The field elevation, whoops. The field elevation is supposed to be what? Supposed to be 307. So, and we're going to land in this direction southbound. Yeah, runway 11. Doesn't look like we can do a left, a left or right pattern to it, just terrain-wise. So, Rampart traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's overflying the field east to west. We're going to turn, or correction, north to south. We're going to turn westbound and maneuver for a straight into runway 11 at Rampart. All right, well, let's kind of chop and drop here. 150, we can get gear out. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll hug the right side of the terrain here so that we can spin around to the left. You guys can start putting some predictions into the chat as far as the vertical descent rate at the moment the wheels touch runway surface. No bot command necessary for that, just a number into the chat, positive or negative. We'll know that you mean a descent rate either way. And the closest predictor gets an automatic entry into our monthly landing rate raffle. July 29th will be the next day that we draw that. We're just backing the power out as best as we can. Mix and props full. We get the fuel pump on, which I guess I forgot to turn off. Second notcher flaps in. Rampart traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor is about 2 miles west now. We're turning for a straight-in runway 11 full stop, Rampart. Okay, flaps full. Ears down and green. A little bit on a slight right base, if you will. So we'll get sorted out. We'll get back on the center line here. Struggling to get back over on center line. I wonder if we're going to be, crabbing significantly nose left here. Really have no idea what the wind is doing. Kind of figure the wind is coming from the east because the the weather returns are all moving east to west. Okay, mix full, flaps, keep saying that. Mix full, props full. Flaps are also full, incidentally. We'll start walking the power down. Get that speed to decay from 100 down to 80. And then let's see what we're doing in terms of center line adherence. Point it down the runway and see which way she's drifting. Yeah, I feel like I got the nose well over to the left in order to get on that center line. Well, maybe it's fairly neutral now. Yeah, looks like it's fairly neutral for the moment. Okay, and the parking area, we'll take note right here since we're looking at it, is all the way back at the beginning of the runway on the right-hand side. It'll be a left turn off as we turn back. Last call for the predictions, friends. Yeah, it looks like minimal, if any, crab angle. Looks like we might be crabbed slightly over to the left. Add just a tiny bit of right rudder. Yeah, you can see the windsock, tiny little bit of left to right, or yeah, left to right. All Alright, gentle round out. Runway's going to come up to meet us. Alright, we made it. Rampart traffic, Comanche 514 Delta Victor's down and back taxiing, runway 11, Rampart. Tomb Trekker 66 is here. Tomb Trekker, welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, very hilly runway, so again, kind of floated it long just because I decided to try and time the undulation of the runway with where we were going to touch down. So, a little floaty there. We'll see how it measured us in terms of touchdown zone. Landing analysis tool called Touchdown FX, which kind of grades you on a number of different scales. It's not just feet per minute anymore, although feet per minute is what we predict in terms of our contest and our landing rate raffle entries. But the tool now grades us on a number of different factors, not just the descent rate upon touchdown, which is nice. It gives us a much more well-rounded analysis of what we're doing well and what we're not doing well on those landings. It's a really cool tool. TouchdownFX.com if you want to check that out. It is only for Flight Sim 2024. That's the only bad thing. But it is completely free as well, so that's a good thing. We're going to drop down a hill here. Trying to kind of park over here by the building. Alright, we'll put her there, pal. We'll put her there. Alright, parking brakes on. We can, so the flaps, strobes, landing lights, pitot heat, and the fuel pump off. Okie doke, yeah. They're going to wave their arms for a little bit, but too bad. I'm parking over here. Alright, well, it scored us. It scored us an 89 out of 100. And 17 was the number that registered. I don't know if I believe that or not, but it gave us crap for the crab angle. And I think we were crabbing well to the left by the time I touched down. But I think that was probably because we were, I think I was overcorrecting is what was going on there. So the nose was indeed over to the left. No, I guess so. And that's what the direction the wind was coming from, was from the left. So I was undercorrecting. I was not cross-controlled enough to account for that left to right. Even though it was a fairly moderate left to right, it was six knots, and most of that was headwind, and a little of that was crosswind. But it was enough that I had a bit of a crab angle. And then once we touched down, you could see. You know, the plane's crabbed to the left, but tracking straight, but you can see that as soon as the weight gets onto the wheels, the plane wants to veer off to the left, because that's now what's controlling the direction of the movement. So, so yeah, neat analysis tool. I didn't, I guess I just, like I said, I guess I just wasn't putting enough of a crosswind correction in. But that's all right. The number that registered was 17, so hope that you guessed on the low side, guys. we had guesses of 55, 45, 43, 60, and 81, so Iowa Scotsman will pick up another one. So it doesn't quite pick up the hat trick, but does pick up 2 out of 3 for the evening, does Iowa Scotsman. So, very good, guys. Well, that's a wrap for tonight. Where are we? PFMP. Papa Foxtrot, Mike Papa on 7-6. All right, well, if you're brand new to the stream, what happens on those predictions is that you get entered into a monthly drawing, and that drawing occurs toward the end of every single month. This one's going to occur on July the 29th, and when your name comes out of that fishbowl, you then you're the winner of any one of the prizes of the out of the Slant Alpha prize vault. It's your choice whether you want a t-shirt, ball cap, coffee mug, or tote bag, which I'll ship at my expense, or an electronic gift card, Amazon or xplane.org store or simmarket.com. Those are your choices out of the prize vault. Mad Noob says I can say the shirt is top notch. Yeah, indeed. Many of you guys on the broadcast with us tonight have been the beneficiary of one of these landing rate raffles over the 8 years that we've been doing them. Well, actually, we've been doing the stream 8 years. We haven't been doing the landing rate raffle for all 8 of those years, but we've been doing those for a good significant chunk of that time. So yeah, a number of you on the stream have picked up either the t-shirt or the coffee mug. A few of you have the ball cap. I don't think a single one of you has got the tote bag. Melvin can vouch for the mug and the hat. Yeah, right. Indeed. I don't think we've done ever a single one of those tote bags. I've already decided that when I get rid of the ones I have, I'm going to just take that off the list. It's that unpopular that I will. Now I want, says Mad Noob. Well, it'll be a collector's item because you won't ever see them again. But anyway, so there's our prize vault list, and like I said, we'll do that drawing on July the 29th. We do that drawing toward the end of every single month on the stream. And the other activity that we do on the stream is our slant artwork adventure, which we'll go ahead and wrap up for tonight. We got the Piper Comanche flying over the Yukon River. We had Tundra tires on it, but when we fixed the configuration from tail dragger to tricycle, it took the nice big puffy Tundra tires back off. And we got the pups that are trying to wave us down, but we still have one of the pups with an extra appendage. Or maybe 2, actually, with an extra appendage. So we had some glitches on the stream, and we got some glitches in the image, but it's okay. You know, they always say, don't look too closely at AI images, because the more you look at them, the worse they get. So tonight will just be one of those nights. But other than that, we got a nice Comanche flying over the Yukon, over a rusted-out paddle boat, while we got some miners down there trying to look for some gold. So there you are, our slant artwork adventure, and we'll ramp up that activity again on Wednesday's stream. Normal show schedule was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, 2300 Zulu time, and we're on that normal schedule this week. Wednesday's stream is going to be a couple of hops in the Just Flight BAE 146. So we will be flying that little regional airliner, little vintage regional airliner on Wednesday. We're going to do Syracuse to Boston, and then Boston down to Washington Reagan. The Boston Virtual ARTCC is hosting a regional circuit between Boston and Syracuse, so we'll hit those 2, and then we'll head on down to DCA. Wednesday nights are very, it's hit or miss, but it's very likely that we'll have somebody working within ZDC, so maybe we'll cross our fingers that we'll have Reagan landing southbound, and we'll get to fly that river visual approach to runway 19. And if not, if we end up landing northbound, we'll see if we can let them do the break off and circle to land from the ILS to runway 1, or the Mount Vernon visual to runway 1. We'll see if we can have them let us break off and circle to land on runway 33 if we end up landing northbound. So either direction, we'll have something interesting we can do for you in that Just Light BA 146. So that'll be Wednesday's stream, and then Friday, we got another tentative stream. No Friday Night Ops on the calendar, it doesn't look like. So maybe we'll find a VATSIM event somewhere else in the world if we end up flying that. But it's also possible we'll have to ditch that with some friends in town. that we may end up hanging out with that evening. So that one's tentative, but Wednesday's pretty certain, and so we plan on seeing you then. Now, who are we going to send the stream over to? It looks like Mustafa is doing a bonus stream in the ND80. He's just an hour in and he's taxiing, so looks like we caught him kind of near the beginning. So let's go ahead and get that raid going to Mustafa. I very rarely get to raid him. But we'll get that up and running, and make sure you tell him that Slant Alpha sends his love. And yeah, so we'll look forward to talking to you again soon. I will go ahead and shut down the plane, but I'll do that after the stream is over. And then in the meantime, you guys can go over and say hi to Mustafa. All right, well, thanks for riding with us. Appreciate you hanging out here. We'll see you Wednesday at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, 2300 Zulu time, from the cockpit of the Just Light BA-146 from Syracuse, New York. Between now and then, guys, have a great rest of the start of your week, and be happy, healthy, and safe in all your travels and adventures. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.